The failed attempts at disrupting Prime Minister's diaspora event. Gurpatwant Pannun, wanted terrorist and also leader of the banned and proscribed organization Sikhs For Justice. This Khalistani K-separatist terrorist and chief of SFJ released a 90-second video threatening Indo-American citizens. In his message, Pannun said, and I quote, "Please take your Indo-Americans back to India. All those who planned and funded the event are followers of Modi's Hindutva ideology." According to sources close to intelligence agencies, his video was on expected lines. So, till Hindutva ideology, that is where I unquote Pannun's comments. And then going forward, according to sources close to intelligence agencies, his video was on expected lines. Now I quote the intelligence sources again. Pannun is a rogue element who has no identity. He is doing this on the directions of foreign agencies who have funded him. His lawsuit was planned deliberately at a time when the Prime Minister was going, and these agencies never expected huge success. The event was as successful as any event in Bharat, unquote. That's what intel sources have said. Sushant Sareen is with us, senior fellow ORF, and Glenn Carl, former CIA officer, with us. Namaste, gentlemen. Thank you for your time. Sushant Sareen, is this an act of desperation? Is this all under the garb of freedom of speech and expression? So if a Falun Gong can protest and Tibetans can protest when Xi Jinping is there, why can't Khalistanis when Modi is there? So that's one aspect. The other aspect is this being done deliberately because the intelligence wants to continue these pinpricks. The Five Eyes want to continue these pinpricks on Bharat.
Yeah, so I think on the first question, Anand, it's very clear that everybody has the right to protest. Nobody has a problem with anybody protesting. You know, people can let off as much hot air as they want to. The problem with most of this Khalistani element is that, one, they have a track record of terrorism, and the most heinous kind of terrorism, in fact, mass murders to their account, including the bombing of the Air India aircraft many years back. But nevertheless, those elements are still very active in this movement. Number two, they are involved with very big criminal gangs and criminal mafias, transnational criminal mafias, involved in things like drug running, gun running, all kinds of other nefarious activity. That's the second. The third is the kind of hate speech these guys are espousing. Now, unless it's the American or the Canadian or the Western case that, look, hate speech against Hindus and against Indians is perfectly valid and perfectly kosher, but it's, any other kind of hate speech is unacceptable, but hate speech is perfectly kosher. Otherwise, I don't know what they're trying to get at. Number four, on the whole issue of, clearly, there are some intelligence agencies which are propping up these guys, turning a blind eye. I think that's very, very clear from how this whole thing is playing out. The question is, what is the purpose? Now, there are mixed signals clearly which are coming out, because at one level, if you look at India-America relations or India-West relations, they are as good as they have ever been in history. In fact, even better. The kind of cooperation which is happening is next level stuff. Something which in my younger days I could have never imagined. But at the other level, you see this kind of thing that, okay, fine, we have certain leverages over you. And finally, Anand, Pannu is an idiot, and as are all the other Khalistanis. But when they say that the Hindus need to go back to India if they are rooting for Modi, simply because they want India to do much better, then what about the Khalistanis? Are the Khalistanis wanting to form Khalistan in the United States or in Canada? Because if they are wanting to form Khalistan in India or out of India, then they should come back to India. Are these cowards not ready to come back to India? Why? So I think the same question can be thrown back at these bloody lowlifes, toilet cleaners as most of them are, or truck drivers.
I know
and they can ask the question as to why they don't come back.
Right. I know the emotions get on the boil when we talk about these elements. But Glenn Carl, let me just get his perspective. One sec, Sushant.
These have been responsible for murders of people. I know these people have been responsible for dislocation of people. So I have no love lost for them.
I totally understand. But the fact is that if the India-US friendship is at a new height, Quad is at a different strategic level of interaction and engagement, why is it that there are allegations that he is a CIA prop? Glenn Carl? Why is it that his offices are on the same office place, same building or same premises where the FBI have their offices reportedly? How is it that FBI agents and other US government agents are seen as giving him a protective cordon if this person is a wanted man for India and he's a US citizen? Glenn Carl.
Well, I have heard the statements and read some statements that he's being supported, run by, or is an agent of foreign intelligence services. Your comment that it's the CIA or the FBI, or the first time I've heard that, I would find that astoundingly hard to believe, really, since a covert operation for the United States is a particularly sensitive issue, and directed, in this instance, taking the scenario a little further, if it were directed against India at a time when the United States is seeking to improve relations at all levels for the overarching strategic goal of having essentially an alliance with India to counterbalance China, I just find that astounding to even conceive. It just wouldn't really happen. The way I see the issue is three immediate levels. There's the intelligence aspect, which we just touched upon a little bit.
Yeah.
It's certainly possible that foreign intelligence agencies, the Pakistanis come to mind first, of course, the Chinese, I think, second, might seek to run some sort of covert operation to disrupt Modi and create problems for him in the United States. That makes sense to me. That the U.S. Intelligence services do it doesn't. Then there's the free speech issue, which is really the U.S. has worked out, although there are endless arguments about it, it's a never resolved issue, that free speech is not speech that one likes, but is designed to protect speech that one even hates, and that one may engage in any sort of speech up to direct incitement of violence. Now, once that happens, then the speech is not allowed, and the authorities should shut it down. But the statements I read, and I'm not the lawyer and I'm not in the court making the decision, are far from that. And then the third issue is this fellow a terrorist? With what he's been charged? What are the extradition treaties or treaty between India and the U.S., and would they obtain in this instance? And the U.S. position has pretty consistently been so far that they have not risen to the level of calling for his extradition.
So are you okay for secessionist elements to operate on Indian soil who call for the secession of America or secession of the South from the North? Out of the 53 states. Are you okay if there were Canadian secessionists who would want a separation of Quebec operating out of Bharat, and every time there is a visit or outside and they would create these kind of situations? These are elements, Glenn Carl, who are also intimidating local citizens. They are calling them, they are harassing them, they are intimidating them. They are also creating an environment of hostility with those who do not agree with them. So how is that okay?
Yeah, intimidation should not be okay. I think that's pretty clearly crosses the line where speech or actions would not be acceptable under any circumstance, whether it's a Sikh doing it to Indians or other Indians, I should say, or any other circumstance. Were someone sitting in Vancouver calling for this the renewed secession of the southern states, that would be irritating. Certainly, and were it financed by, run by a foreign intelligence service, that would be more alarming. And I think the U.S. would be, of course, would take steps to try to say, we don't like, we don't like this. The intelligence service X is doing the following, stop. But beyond that, unless they're violently
so that's where the problem is, that the CIA,
no.
the FBI, if they know the ISI is involved or the Chinese FSS is involved, but this man is talking about breaking our country. He's talking about a secessionist agenda. And how is that kosher is a question.